Hey everyone, here we are with the next Hardcore League Season 9 build. This one based on Karlach, the Fury of Avernus. She's a tiefling forced to fight in the Blood War by the Archdevil Zariel, and she escaped, came to the Prime Material Plane with an infernal engine in her chest. We are not using traditional stats for this. This is completely for our purposes for Hardcore, and to try to keep in line with the Baldur's Gate 3 canon for Karlach. So if you've played, Karlach is a very interesting, probably one of the richest characters over there in terms of story depth. She has a really compelling story. I won't do any spoilers for you guys, but one of the things that you'll notice if you play with Karlach is she's constantly dancing around. She sings, she dances, she's just extremely happy to be alive. Not hard to understand because she escaped, literally escaped from hell, where she was enslaved, and now she's got her freedom back. As a result, she has sort of like this very positive outlook on life. She's just extremely happy to be alive. And so what we wanted to do is try to capture that a little bit in the build over here in DDO, which is not 5e rules, and we are using a modified homebrew version of 3.0 rules. So we are charisma based. Barbarian is extremely strong. So what we're doing, we are charisma based, meaning you start with a 20 charisma as a tiefling. The next points go into Constitution with 14 and then 12 Intelligence. And then everything else is just set to 10. And then for our split, what we're doing is we get a natural imbue as a tiefling called Blood Hunt. So you have to drag that over to your bar and turn it on. We are using Fade Arc Illusionist in order to do our CC with Color Spray. But the main reason, other than that we're doing it is because we are taking advantage of something in Fade Arc Illusionist that allows us to utilize the Shadow Blade with a charisma bonus to hit and damage. That isn't anything that you need to purchase. That's just part of that weapon itself. So what that means is that every time we boost our charisma, our hit and damage go up. So right now we have plus 10 to hit, plus 10 damage. That's really good. The downside of it is that because we have no other charisma to hit and damage, now you can take Familiar Flourish 1 and 2 to get that, and then you could switch out of this weapon if you wanted to use a different weapon. But I'm not doing that. I'm using the illusory weapon because I like it. It's a good weapon. It's only a short sword. We're single weapon fighting. You've Got My Back gives us magic missile immunity. +1 all saves there. And we have our color spray. The other thing we're doing for this build is we are going up Vistani Knife Fighter, and we are going 22 points in order to get energy drain immunity. That's key because that's going to allow us to run up and single weapon fight with things like beholders without being afraid, because we will be completely immune to their enervate, to their level drain. We can also pick up celerity in this tree if you wanted to. I'll have the build posted so you can see what I did with all the points. This Fan of Knives is also a really good AoE ranged attack that you can get there. And then this haste boost is really great on a single weapon fighting character. And then the rest of the points in the build go into Occult Slayer, which has a really great capstone. All of these really are yummy. They all give great bonuses. We do use Ear Smash. We do put 1 point there to knock enemies out. We end up using Kinetic Bond. We go up here, we get Rune Carved Armor, Vampiric Bond, Occult Metalline. Over here, we throw points into Constitution to get our Constitution up. You can, if you wanted to really roleplay Karlach, you could skip this point of Charisma and put points into Hellish Rebuke and run around on fire because Karlach with the Infernal Engine is on fire. That's up to you. You can see, like, with the gear that I have, I'm at 30 charisma right now at level 7. So you will have to farm out gear for charisma. It's not that bad. There is a lot of charisma gear in the game, not only because of all the casters that use charisma, but also because bards use charisma. And there are many melee bards, swashbucklers and stuff. So as a barbarian, single weapon fighting, with the phase sword, we won't have that difficult a time finding gear. The gear that I'm using is all the same gear that I've been using for these builds. However, the difference, I am in the snow scale armor right now. This is medium armor. I have a 7-piece. Like I told you guys in the previous video, I would be wearing Crown of Butterflies, but I can't find it. I think it was lost when I TR'd. Sometimes items vanish out of TR caches. I have no idea where my Crown of Butterflies went. But so that's why I'm wearing the Crown of Snow. Necklace of Bottled Sunlight is +4 charisma and makes you immune to exhaustion, and also gives you 3 free casts of Good Hope. That is probably one of the most important items for this build. Nocturne Ring is a fantastic ring. I highly recommend it just about on anybody. Insightful Fortification works for any build. True Seeing is great for any build, and +3 command will allow you to use Magic Device. And because we are charisma based, we have Use Magic Device as a skill, and we have it right now at 22, which means that for our Cure Serious Wand at level 7, we have a 75% chance to activate. One of the things you'll notice is that we did not use Frenzied Berserker to get Blood Tribute. You could, if you wanted to, at low level, skip Vistani and use Frenzied Berserker, if you want to do that in lower levels. But I would recommend, once you start to get towards content where you know that you're going to fight beholders, and that's usually content around level 9 or 10, that you consider going in here and getting Miststalker 4. I think it's much more useful to have immunity, complete immunity, than having Blood Tribute. But I'll let you guys make that decision on your own. Likely, if this were a hardcore league, when I was very low level, like I said, you want Color Spray by level 6. You've got my back as soon as you can get it, because that's Magic Missile immunity. This tree here is probably the last tree that you go in. So you could put points in here and get at least maybe 1 Blood Tribute. But once you hit level 10, I would say, and you start to think about doing level 8 quests or higher, I would really go in here, because we want Miststalker 4 by the time that we end up fighting a lot of Beholders, Mind Flayers, Thrak Hounds. We want to basically make sure that we're protected. So that would be what I would do. And then the rest of the build is filling out Occult Slayer. Occult Slayer is great. But at level 20, you would no longer have that Blood Tribute. You keep your 11 points here. You've got your 22 points here. And then I believe you're about 42 points in this tree here. So the gear, like I said, is Snow Scale. Same trinket, Battle Ward Medallion. Really great level 3 trinket. Cloak of Winter. Black Dragon Scale Tacit. Anytime we kill an enemy, we get hasted. Not to mention it has some yummy things for a melee on it, especially a melee barbarian. So this is a great belt. I would highly recommend farming that. These gloves of tranquility, are great for anybody because of blurry and regeneration. And they have a yellow slot. Yes, it's great to have improved quelling strikes, because that will stop enemy divine spellcasters, but really having blurry is key, and then regenerate will keep you alive. If you go in cap and stabilize, it will get you back up. I'm wearing Deathblock bracers with dodge +4. They are minimum level 4. You can find really great items like that on hardcore. I think I found those in one of the previous hardcores. My boots are the Thorn boots. Gives me wisdom, gets my will saves up a little bit, and also gives me some armor. The rings, I showed you that ring. The other ring I'm wearing is the Duskbone ring. Now, I don't need Ethereal because the Phase Sword already has Ghost Touch on it, but this is a great ring to get if you are doing a melee build. It gives you bonuses to trip, it gives you profane hit points, and it also gives you a higher armor class. And it has a yellow slot, which for Hardcore League, yellow slots are fantastic because you can buy a Topaz of Water Breathing like I did, which are very inexpensive. You can earn those DDO points just playing on the Hardcore League. And you can buy yourself a Topaz of Water Breathing, a Topaz of Featherfall. They also sell Death Block that you can get. Slot them in there, and you're good to go. Like I said, you have to drag 2 of these things. We have our Sprite from Feydark Illusionist pinned here, and then you have to pin your Blood Hunt and turn that on in order to get the imbue for that. Now, as a result of this character being charisma-based, it does play slightly different than you might be used to if you play on a melee who was like strength-based, or if you were a constitution-based. We need to sort of approach with a little bit more finesse. However, because we level up charisma every time we level and our gear is focused on charisma, we can keep it so where our color spray is hitting monsters and working throughout our leveling process. So we're going to go here. You can see I'm wearing the gear. That's the 10-point Reaper Cloak, the 5000k horse, the 1750 helmet, and I've got the Archonling pet trailing behind me, which is 20 Reaper points. We're not quite sure yet what they're going to do with the event, but they will likely announce it after Halloween. And so the strategy that we're doing is similar, and you guys may say, hey, I've watched all these videos and all of these seem very similar. And yeah, that's because we are making builds for a specific event. And so the goals of the event, while there's 5 or 6 different ones, they don't change. Like we're building our classes to stay alive. So this build will play very similar to the others that we've shown. And so we jump cast color spray because we don't have quicken, and we just let our improved single weapon fighting beat everything down. We can spot heal ourselves. See, that was just 1 cast, 32 points. We did really well. But I just, it's a little bit different because I have to jump cast, but our damage is really good. It's solid. And while you're not going to kill things the fastest, and you have no AoE at this level, it's still very survivable, especially if you play, as I would recommend you play the Hardcore League thoughtfully and planning out if you're going to solo, having a list of the quests that you know that you need for the goals that you set. And then if you're pugging, just make sure that, you follow standard pug rules where if the group wants to stay together, you stay together. If they want to split up, you split up. Just, you guys know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. Every group is different. Some farming groups zerg like crazy on hardcore. It's really up to you to stay comfortable. But this build, no matter what, even if you were separated from your group and you had to pug out a lot, you can see, like, you have a lot of versatility. It's not as heavy on CC. We eventually take sap, but it's better for us. You could swap out and take it at level 6 instead of improved single weapon fighting, but I think personally that having the improved single weapon fighting is a little bit better because your DPS is obviously higher, and then monsters die quicker. Sap is really I love sap, so it's up to you whether you want to take it at level 18 or whether you want to take it at level 6. I'm going to list it as something that you take at level 18, and then you can use it into epics if you decide to do epics. Like I said, it doesn't have a DC associated with it, so as long as they don't have some specific script that makes it that they cannot be sapped. Some monsters cannot be sapped, but you know, as you level up, you get a lot more hit points, you get a lot more survivable, you get spell resistance, you get damage reduction, and like once you get your energy drain immunity, you're very resistant to fire damage already, being a tiefling. You're already immune to fear. Fey Dark Illusionist makes you immune to magic missiles. So you end up getting a lot of really solid defensives in place that will allow you to survive a lot of the BS. Very good, especially if you were running with other players. Like, let's say you wanted to run with a group. This build is really good at like burning down champions. You can lock down and burn down a champion very specifically. Ear Smash works really well. We do get another ability later that's called Vicious Strike, which hits pretty well too. Barbarians are naturally resistant to traps, although I would recommend that if you decide that you're going to solo and run through a lot of traps, I would probably recommend that you do, in fact, use Frenzied Berserker and get your Blood Tribute up, because you can hit Blood Tribute and then just run through a bunch of traps if you knew that you were going to solo a quest and you needed to run through a bunch of traps. And you could always respec, depending on how much money you have on the Hardcore League, how much platinum, you can respec yourself. So, you know, it's not like you have to sit in there. If you know you're going to do a quest where you need Blood Tribute, respec and take it, and then come back out and respec back into immunity to energy drain. I think running with immunity to energy drain overall is better, but, you know, it's situational. And again, these builds are just guidelines, like, for you guys, giving you ideas based on my experience. So obviously feel free to modify it however you feel that it fits your playstyle better. Like I said, for example, I like the face sword. I think for Hardcore League it's very easy to just jump into the game and get a magic weapon without farming for it, but you may decide that you want to farm for a different weapon. In that case, what I would do is put Familiar Flourish 1 and 2. That will give you charisma to hit and damage, and then you could just skip this altogether. But that's, again, that's not something I would do, but you certainly could do it. Like, there's a lot of leeway when it comes to the builds. This build, because we don't have access to any meta magics, we are jump casting everything, and I'll go over jump casting just if you don't know what it is, what it means. Jump casting is basically where we jump, and then what happens is if I do not jump and I go to cast, so I'll demonstrate. So I'm moving and I cast. You see how I run really slow? It like slows me down. I'll do it backing up. It's even easier to sort of see. So here's my normal backup speed. And then here's the backup speed when I'm casting. You can see it's like 50% movement. But if I start to cast and then hit jump, that's what we're talking about with jump casting. And you jump and you cast it in the middle of your jump. So what that does is that removes the 50% movement penalty from you because you're in the air. You're already in the air. And you can do that backwards like that. Or you can also do it side to side. Like, you can jump cast all sorts of different ways. You know, I can jump cast at it. So it's just something that's very specific to DDO. But people have been doing it since, beta. It's just to avoid the, you know, the slowdown that you get. So normally what you'll notice is that I tend to jump when I cast no matter what. Even if I don't properly jump cast, it's just a habit that I have. And I think you may notice that, I don't know, you know, if you're an old time player, or maybe you might, you know, run with people who've been playing for a long time, but it's just something that you'll notice that a lot of people do. And it works too for wands and scrolls. So like I just jump cast that heal on myself. Just jump cast that on them. So it's something that without quicken and without concentration, we're also doing. Now, whether or not it prevents us from getting interrupted, probably not. Barbarians don't have access to it. You have to take, even though we took magical training, you would think that magical training would allow you to take metamagic feats, but it doesn't. So we literally don't have access to metamagics until we get into epics, where we could take intensify or embolden. But just jump cast that guy. We get barbarian speed. The bond goes to 200 weapon bond, and you can spend bond points to utilize skills in Occult Slayer. And there's a lot of interesting things that you can buy with those points, like more damage. You can buy heals. You can buy lots of things. That's why Occult Slayer is so good. You will hear from people. Everyone has a tree in Barbarian that they like the most. My favorite is Occult Slayer, but that does not mean that it's the best. And nor am I presenting this Karlach build as a definitive Barbarian build. This is a very niche, strange, you know, charisma-based build for Hardcore League, for you to try as something new. I didn't want to make a bunch of builds that everybody has seen already. I wanted to do some builds that I believe would work and get you your goals on Hardcore League and be fun and be something different. You know, I mean, anybody can make a strength-based barbarian. People do that all the time. Anybody can throw 20 into their constitution and make a barbarian and run around and rage. That's another thing, that we are not raging at all. And the reason why is that if we rage, we cannot color spray. Because, you know, you need to basically... We would have to, in epics, we could go, I believe there's a ability, Intraconic Incarnation, that would allow us to cast while we rage. There may be another one. There may be something that we could do in the build, but I don't think Occult Slayer has anything that would allow us to cast while we're raged, basically. So we're not even going to use it, because the other thing, too, is raging just gives you more constitution and strength. So while you could do that, the other thing we would lose access to if we raged, and we can actually test it out just to be sure. Like we'll do a test. That's another purpose of these videos, is to sort of test scenarios so you guys can go into the event armed with information, you know, data. So look, we were able to color spray the water weird. We're able to, you know, we can use some skills. We have Uncanny Dodge. That greatly increases our dodge and makes it harder for this boss to hit us. And as we go up in Vistani, we will get a speed boost to our swing that we can use on bosses. I also have haste potions, but I haven't been using them. And so we got an item. So let's check that out. Let's see exactly what, if we rage, what we lose access to. So as you can see right now, I can color spray and I can cast a heal on myself with a wand. If I rage, okay, now she's raged for a minute. I cannot color spray. and I cannot use the wand. It says I'm too enraged. We can drink a potion, but that's pretty much it. The other thing we cannot do raged is cast our face sword. So if for some reason we were disarmed, we would have to wait for this to end or end it ourselves in order to cast our face sword. So we lose access to all the abilities that we're using in this build. So we're not even going to use it. Like if I were playing this on Hardcore League, I would just not even bother. I just wouldn't even pin those because we're not going to be raging. We're not doing a raging barbarian build. We're just basically doing a modified version. The recent weapon changes made it so that the short sword is doing, pretty decent damage. So I will see you guys for the next build.